Hello and welcome to Fresh Perspectives. My name is Gail, and today my guest is a life coach, a violinist in the Erie Philharmonic, and she does something called luminescent healing that she uses tuning forks. And I'd like to introduce you to Colleen Vanderzyden. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
You have a radio program also, you mentioned to
Yes.
me. Do you use your life coaching skills for that?
I do. I give a coaching tip every week where I give them a small step, something they can do to improve their lives, and give them some action, realize a shift in perspective or whatever might work. And then I take a couple callers and help them with their problems.
Oh, good. How long is it on?
It's on for 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Yeah, and I always run out of time.
oh gosh. Well, that's good, I guess. When is it on and what station?
It's on Thursday nights at 8:30 p.m. at Eastern Time. And it's on, you can find it on psychicradio.com. If you look up A1R Psychic Radio, that's where you can find it. And you can listen to it with an app or online. And it's international, so I get guests from all over the place.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It is fun.
Now, did your violin playing lead to your interest in luminescent healing?
Well, that's an interesting story, actually. What led me to healing work was my barn falling down. I had a barn in my backyard, and it was kind of rotten. And one day, it fell down. Mm-hmm. So we were going to have the barn taken away. And I didn't know if the electrical lines were live to the barn. So I called my electrician, and he came over and actually used dowsing rods to check if the electrical lines were live. So when he did that, I was fascinated that, what do you mean? You can hold these things and they move like this if it's live and this if it's not. And it was just so shocking to me. And so because I was so interested, he wanted to become my dowsing teacher. So he came to my house and he was showing me how to do it. And the first thing out of my mouth was, can you use this for healing? I had never in my life even heard of healing. I didn't even know what I was saying. It was the strangest.
It just spontaneously came out of you.
It just came out of my mouth. And I'm like, can you use this for healing? And he says, I don't know, I suppose. And I thought, what is healing, you know? So I started going to dowsing conventions, because there's a convention for everything. Oh. So I started going to dowsing conventions, and as I was there, people would say, what are you going to use dowsing for? You know, you can help them find water, you know, to drill a well, and all sorts of things like that, and get answers. And I said, I don't really know. And I kept noticing, though, I started going to healing classes that were related. And then eventually I stepped into healing. And I started out with just basic energy healing. And then I found the school in Georgia where you can learn all sorts of things there. And one of them, they had it was sound and color healing. And I thought, well, that will be interesting. So I went down there and I took the class. And it was pretty cool because I had never done sound healing before. And we used the tuning forks, and you can use your voice and all sorts of things. And I remember going to practice in the class. You know, he sent us all off and we came back and he wanted to know what we thought about it. And I said, you know, I feel like I've been doing this my whole life. And he said, you have been doing this your whole life, and maybe some more lives before this. And I went, oh, weird. And I never wanted to mix, you know, the music part of my life with this other side of my life. I didn't want to mix them, but there you go. I did.
Oh, that is so interesting. That's even more interesting than what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, it definitely had nothing to do with everything else I've done.
So, are there different healing methods?
Yeah, there's so many different kinds. People like the sound healing because people who aren't into the metaphysics, they aren't into energy healing or spiritual healing. That sounds a little bit hooey, you know, like really? That's just, you're wacky, you know, you're wacky. But when you explain that the body is vibration, and when something's going on in your life, and it can be mental, physical, emotional, anything, whatever's going on, your vibration of your body physically will shift. And when that shifts, that's when you might start getting illnesses, or things might start happening and you don't feel good. And when I show them that I can use the tuning forks and actually shift their energy back to the healthiest energy, and the energy for every individual person, because if you ever hear anybody say anything like, your vibration should be this. No, everybody's unique, so you each have your own individual vibration. And when I explain that and show them how it works, and then they feel it, they go, oh, this is really cool. And a perfect example, my brother had hurt his leg, his knee, and he couldn't go up and down the stairs, and he couldn't walk the dog. You know, he didn't know what to do. And I just taken this class, and I said, well, let's just try it out and see what happens. And he sat on my healing table, and I just got the tuning forks out, and I was messing around with them, and I can show you how it works actually. And the kids were running around. He had little kids, I had little kids, and they're all running around. And the next day he calls me, he goes, you're not going to believe this. I can go up and down the stairs. I walked the dog. I went all the way around the block. I did everything that I wanted to do. And it was just, we had set an intention that that was what was going to happen, but we were experimenting. We didn't have a vested interest in the outcome. We were like, let's just see. And it worked.
You know, that happened with me one time when I had a Reiki therapy session. I thought I was going to be going to the chiropractor the next day. You know, you can kind of tell the difference whether it's something that's going to clear up on its own or not. And I thought I was going to be calling the chiropractor the next day because I could tell it was one of those things I really needed help with. But I was at a lecture where there was by a Reiki therapist, and she just put her hands on my shoulder and that side of my neck for a short period of time, and when I woke up the next morning, the pain was gone. Yeah. Completely.
It's amazing. And, you know, using the sound, it reaches more people. You know, and I tell them I can do the same thing by doing this. They you know, if they're not open to it, it's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But that's a perfect example.
Yeah. So it's similar to Reiki then,
yeah,
isn't it?
it's just adjusting the vibration. And I actually, 1 year or 2 years, I studied I don't know how many healing methods. I went out there and I studied everything: reconnective healing, quantum touch, spiritual healing, Reiki. You know, I just kept going and going and studying them all because I wanted to know the similarities and the differences. And when I was done with my study, I realized they're all the same thing. It's the method may appeal to a different person in a different way.
Right,
so it's the same, and it's all a form of energy, spiritual healing.
And it's that way with chanting too.
Yeah,
chanting raises the vibration of your aura also.
Yeah, and the music, the sounds. You know how we like to listen to certain kinds of music? It's because those ones resonate with our vibration. We like that. And there's other kinds of music we listen to and we go, ew, I don't like that. It doesn't resonate. Mm-hmm. You know, and when you're using that music and the sound, and even words have the same thing, the same effect.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to have you start showing us how this is done then.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. There's a couple, I brought two sets. I have about 6 more because they're toys and I like to play with them, but they're not necessary. I just like to play with them.
Oh, I see.
So years ago when I spoke to the Vegetarian Society, and I used these 2 tuning forks, and these were the ones that were, when I played them for an example and passed them around the room, that's the one where the lady, all of a sudden she had heard the sound before, and it was when her cat had passed, and she thought she saw her cat. And these represent, according to the person who developed them, the sound of the angels and love and consciousness opening. Now these, they have a certain sound to them. They're not sounds you would get in normal music today. You know, they're different vibrations, different hertz. And I hit them.
That does sound very celestial.
And then you can hear that sound, and it really helps to raise your vibration. You know, sometimes people will say if you don't like the sound, then that's the one you need. I don't agree with that. If you like the sound, then you should use it. Now,
well, that woman that you were just mentioning, I'm pretty sure she watches this program.
Oh, good.
So
maybe she'll remember the sound.
She'll probably remember that she said that too.
Yes, and it's such a profound experience sometimes. You know, I teach sound healing workshops, and I'll be hitting the tuning forks, and we'll be passing them around and everything, and people will say, I'm starting to feel really tingly. And these tuning forks here, these are the ones that I use that you can really get a lot done with. You hit these, I'll hold them out a little further, and you just put them over your body like this.
You can probably feel it, right?
Yeah, and you can, what'll happen is when I'm doing this, if there's an issue that needs to be addressed in the body, the sound disappears.
Oh, does it really?
And
oh my gosh.
so I'll hit him.
Almost like the problem stops the sound.
Yes.
It blocks the sound.
Well, and my theory for that is that the sound is going into the body to shift and change that vibration. So even if you've had an old injury or something, you know, like I broke my collarbone years ago in a car accident, and I can do this, and it'll vaguely just fade just a little bit, you know. So it's a very interesting process.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering now, in some cases, should it be combined with medical treatments or other natural healing things?
Yes.
Like, because I mean, if somebody breaks their leg, you wouldn't just use a tuning fork, but not
Please
put
don't.
a cast on the
Exactly.
leg, right?
And that's the thing. And sometimes, you know, you hear these stories about mothers and fathers who are extremely fundamentalist religion in some sects or whatever you want to call them, who don't give their kids medical treatment, which can easily be solved. You know, my theory is the universe, God, whoever you want to call it, created medical for a reason.
Yeah,
we should use it, you know. And I always tell my clients, if you feel like you need to go to the doctor, go to the doctor. You know, I mean, don't just think this is going to cure everything, and it might, because I've seen miraculous healings. However,
you don't want to take the risk. You don't want to take the risk that things won't work out.
Yeah, and don't be stupid. I mean, if you need penicillin, go get it. You know, don't think, oh, I'm going to use the C tuning fork and I'm going to be better. Maybe, maybe not. You know, it definitely can help so many aspects of your life, emotional, physical, like I said, everything. It can help everything, but it definitely should be used in combination.
Okay, I saw something, the different frequencies. Do you use different frequencies for different health issues?
Yeah, I do a lot of that intuitively now. When I learned originally, there's the energy chakras, we call them, the energy centers within the body that come up from the bottom of your spinal cord, basically, and come right up. And so I learned originally that the note C goes with the bottom, then the note D goes with the next one, the note E goes with the next one. So they just come up. And that's just a traditional method. But now that you can find all sorts of things online about use this note for this or that one for that. But now I just do it. You know, I might look at them and I just, you know, I might kind of feel something and think, you know, I'm going to try these two together. Then I'm going to switch to those, and then I'm going to switch to the other ones. So I'm all over the place with that.
So you kind of intuitively figure things out about the person.
I do now, yeah. And they can tell me what's wrong with them when they come for a session or not. It doesn't make any difference because the healing is going to go where it's supposed to go. And I don't have to know, you know, as long as the energy knows, it'll go.
And, okay, the healing work eventually led you to mediumship, and you became a registered Lily Dale medium. Okay, so what is it like being a medium?
It's very interesting. It is very interesting. I didn't really want to become a medium, actually. I was psychic, and I've been psychic forever, and I thought, I just want to tell people what to do. You know, I don't really want to talk to their dead people. I mean, what's that about? But then, you know, they start knocking, and it's time. So I found really good teachers to make sure I knew what I was doing ethically and all of that. Some of the people I've met are the best ones are the ones that have a real need to connect to somebody who has passed. And I had an awesome reading a few weeks ago with this woman who had lost her daughter about 3 years ago. It was, I mean, it was just heart-wrenching. It's just heart-wrenching. And I brought in some other people, and eventually her daughter came in. And her daughter said exact words that she would have said when she was here in the physical to me, so that I could say, did she ever say this? And they were some questionable words. And I'm like, I can't really repeat those to her or anyone. And she said, yes, that is. And it was the most profound reading because it was so healing for her to know that her daughter was still alive, was still involved in her life, still knew what was happening. And I know some people believe that there is an afterlife and other people don't, and that's fine. Whatever you want to believe is fine with me. But what I've seen is these spirits come in and they want you to know they're okay. They feel great now. They want to be involved. They want to talk to you. They want you to know they're right there. They want you to know they're the ones turning the lights on and off all the time, you know, and giving you signs that they're still there. And it's really an awesome experience to do that.
I've never actually done anything about developing that, but I have had experiences where if somebody really wanted, there was somebody that I knew that died And the following year, he contacted me a couple of times. He wanted me to give a message to his family for him.
Yes.
So it really must have meant a lot to him. He apparently tried to get through to them, but
it's hard to do sometimes.
you know, somehow he managed to get through to me, and that will happen to me every once in a while, but not on a regular basis like you've had all the training and everything.
Yeah, and the experience
you know.
helps. And that's what will happen too in a reading sometimes. People will come through and my client is saying to me, I don't know who that is. And I'm going, well, they want to talk to you for a reason, so let's find out what's going on. And frequently it is to give a message to somebody else, because I think at this point my belief system says it's hard to connect yourself to your people on the other side, because you want it so badly that if they do connect, you think you're making it up. So sometimes there's the advantage of seeing a medium who's a little bit more objective and can say, well, yeah, it is, you know, trust it, it's okay. And like you having these intuitive flashes as well in this connection, that's something that if they want you to keep going, they'll let you know.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I kind of wonder about with mediums is, do you allow the average person to have their privacy? I mean, you're not going around tuning into people, people all the time, right?
Yeah, I can't do that. And you know, you watch like the Long Island Medium, and it looks like she's doing that, but it's all kind of a little bit more staged than we think. And I know I teach at Fredonia schools, and some of the students, not in my classroom but other classrooms, were always a little wary of me because they thought I was reading them, and I'm like, I don't have time for that. I don't really want to know what's going on in your life. And so no, I don't intrude on people. It's you have your privacy and I have my privacy. And if you come for a reading, even if you come for a reading, I can't see everything you've ever done. Some people get nervous about that because they're afraid, oh, you know, I did this when I was 16. And I'm like, no, I don't know that. I'm like, I don't know everything you've ever done that's bad or good. Don't worry about it. It's okay. So I never touch into somebody. I do, when I meet people, I get a general feel for them, but I think most people do that anyway.
Yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up so that people wouldn't feel self-conscious if they knew they were around somebody who was a medium or a psychic of some sort.
It's just good to be open-minded.
Yeah. And so how do the spirits communicate then?
That's an interesting thing too. You'll hear about people I see. People will say, I see, I hear, I feel. And some emphasize one over the others. I do whatever the spirit shows me. So I may very well see them in my mind. Frequently, if I see them, it doesn't match what they really look like anyway. So I'm like, just like you hear a voice on the radio and it never matches what you think.
Yeah,
so I never
I know what you mean, because sometimes when people will call me on the phone, but I've never met the person before, there's something about the sound of their voice that will make me feel like I know, it will cause a picture to form in my mind, and then I'm always surprised when I meet the person to see what they really look like, because it's usually completely different.
It always is different. So I try to avoid describing them unless there's something real definitive, and even if I describe them, they're always looking at me, and then they're trying to place. I'm like, just ignore what I just said, But sometimes I'll hear words, like actual sentences, and I'll say things that they would have said, which I'm always shocked at myself. We all go, wow, that was cool. And I can feel things in my body too. If somebody's passed, I'll feel maybe how they passed. The one thing I've noticed is soldiers won't show me how they've passed.
Oh, they won't?
They won't. They don't want me to feel it.
They don't.
Soldiers never let me feel how they passed. So,
oh gosh.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. But I can feel heart attacks and cancer and all sorts of strokes and stuff like that sometimes.
Oh, that's almost a little bit creepy.
Yeah, as long as I know what I felt like before I started, I'm good. And what kind of things do the spirits talk about?
Lots of times it's the value of the connection to family. And when I started this, I never would have thought that would have been a primary message. And so many of them want their people to know how happy they are with their family, or they wish they had been more connected to their family, or they want to apologize to their family. It's all about the family. And encouraging whoever's in front of me to maintain those connections with their family, because they frequently say at the end of your life, that's all that matters.
It is.
And it's so interesting to have that affirmed from the other side. That's
Yeah,
the most
yeah.
important thing.
Yeah, you know, I think sometimes people feel guilty after a loved
Yeah.
one has passed away.
And they always feel bad, well, I should say always, frequently people will feel bad that they didn't do enough.
Right.
And then the spirit will come in and they'll say, no, it was just the way it should have been. Let it go. Every time. I've never heard spirit say to somebody, you should have done this for me and you should have done that for me. And I have met a couple grumpy spirits. I call them grumpy. You know, they're just so grumpy. I sent them away. I said, no, you're not going to say anything positive. I don't want to talk to you today. Thank you. You know, but for 98% of the time, they're so positive and they really want to reassure people. It's awesome.
Well, you know, I had some ghosts pull a prank on me one time.
Nice, nice.
You know, you've maybe heard of a place, I think it's gone out of business now. It was called Bill's Gun and Saddle Shop
Yes, mhm.
near St. Clairville.
Right.
And I guess my brother had given my husband like a gift certificate to there one time. So it was getting towards evening, and we came, I remember my husband and I were coming back from having gone to Buffalo for something, and we were there, and he'd run into somebody he'd gone to high school with, and they got to talking, and there were like two rooms. There was one room that had like the hunting supplies. That was out in front, you know, like where their cash register and everything was, but then there was a back room that had like Western style clothing and stuff like that. And I remember being back there by myself in that room, and I heard two voices whispering to each other. And I mean, it was right past my left shoulder was where the whispering came from, and I'm looking around and there's nobody else in the room.
Nice.
And so anyways, you know, I just didn't think too much of it. And then a few minutes later, when I was standing near a box of stuff that had like tools and things in it, that apparently somebody had been back there doing some repair work or something. When I'm standing near that with my back to it, the ghost knocked that box of tools over onto the floor.
Nice.
And so everybody in that front room, all of a sudden, they're looking at me, and I'm feeling embarrassed, but I know I haven't done anything.
Yeah, you're like, no, I didn't do it.
And I couldn't, I didn't know how they felt about things like that, so I didn't feel, I had to kind of go along with it and just sort of pretend that, oh yeah, I knocked it over, you know, but I knew I hadn't. And that's what they were whispering about, was they were getting ready to, I couldn't quite make out what they were saying when they were whispering, but they were
that's
getting
cool.
ready to be naughty. I figure it must have been the ghosts of a couple little kids or something that were
Right.
mischievous.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's cool.
yeah.
They want to get your attention.
And everybody else.
And
is
everybody
too.
else in the whole place. Nice, nice.
Have you ever had an experience with a ghost pulling a prank on you like that?
Boy, you know, I used to drive down the road and the street lights would blow out above me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember driving with my daughter once and going, yeah, they keep blowing out. I said, watch this. And I go like this, and the street light went out. And I thought, okay, that was spooky. So I don't know if it was a ghost prank or what that was, but it was spooky.
It's always when you were driving down the road
And
when the
driving down
street
road,
lights
the street lights
were
would blow. It was weird. And yeah, they probably didn't want me driving down Fredonia anymore. Sorry. Yeah, that hasn't happened in a while, so I think I'm good.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to tell us about the tuning forks?
You know, I like the tuning forks because it really sends us, it can send us to a different place, you know. And people can do this themselves, too. Actually, that's a really good thing to know. People can do this themselves. And they don't have to have a whole bunch of them. You get one or two of them and you're fine. Mm-hmm. And you can just play with them and just, you know, put them over your body and stuff and see what you feel. And as long as you're open, you've set the intention that you're open to some kind of healing or an adjustment to your vibration, whatever it might be, then it works. And it really does work. And people sometimes will be, when they come for a healing of whatever kind, I didn't get this healed.
and I remember this one person coming in, I don't remember what they wanted healed, but then she contacted me and said her eczema was gone, her diabetes numbers had changed, and and she was planning to move, which was out of the blue. And she goes, but nothing happened. And I'm going, you sure? Are you sure about that? Because it sounds like something happened, and I mean, things like that will happen. And so as long as people are open, it works.
Now, there was something that you said when you spoke for us at the Vegetarian Society about not touching your head with the tuning forks when they're vibrating.
There's a certain one, and I didn't bring that one today. It's called the Otto, O-T-T-O. And you hit it really hard, and it's one you put on your body, and you can put it in different places.
Almost like acupuncture points or something?
It's like acupressure point, but with vibration. And the theory is not to put it on your head because it would change the vibration in your bones in your head. Of course, I tell everybody that, and what's the first thing they do? They put it on their head.
Yeah, I remember somebody doing that, and you know who I'm talking about.
Yes, and it's you can't help it. You have to do that. So, and you're not supposed to put it on broken bones for obvious reasons, because whoa, that could really hurt. You know, but that's a great one because it puts the sound right into your body.
Maybe that's why he has such a that kind of personality. He does, that person that we know,
like a 12-year-old boy. I'm gonna do what they're telling me not to do.
He's a character, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
And becoming a medium was what led you to becoming a certified spiritual life coach?
Yes. I tell you, it's interesting to watch my path. In 4th grade, I chose the violin, which led me to Fredonia, which led me to Lilydale, which led me, there's this path all over the place. And I was, I was at a conference, a dowsing conference, actually, in 2000, the year 2000, and I had a profound writing experience where you just write whatever comes to mind. And one of the sentences in that writing experience, which I'd never done before, so it was awesome, because those weren't words I would have said. And one of the sentences was, be who you are, for who you are is blessed. And that led me on this path of self-discovery, which led me to the mediumship. And being a medium, I realized a lot of my clients were coming to me for readings when really they needed coaching. They needed something else. They
just coming for a reading, you're just going to tell them something about themselves that's not going to help them do what they have to do.
Exactly. And the spirits may very well talk about what's going on in your life now and agree or disagree with your actions. They might talk about, who you're with, your relationship, and kind of go, I like that person, I don't like that person, what are you thinking? Whatever. They may do that. But when it comes down to actually making changes in your life, you have to take action yourself. A medium's not going to do it for you. Spirit's not going to do it. And even if a spirit tells you what to do, is that somebody you would have listened to begin with? Or is this somebody that, they're just talking? So I noticed people really needed to take steps. So I thought, I'd like to do more of that. And so I took, courses on life coaching. And it was another eye-opening experience because I realized I'd been coaching my whole life and didn't even know it. As a teacher, you're coaching, but I didn't recognize that it was related. And the coaching classes really taught me so much about taking steps in changing your life. It's a wonderful process, just wonderful.
And I guess that's. I guess that was going to be the next question I was going to ask, was what the difference was.
Between a spiritual life coach?
Between a spiritual life coach and a
life coach, yes. Many people have their own spirituality. They may follow a religion or they may have their own individual spirituality. And a life coach and a spiritual life coach do the same things. The spiritual life coach would add in the recognition and the power and the use of an individual's spirituality. So if I believe that God can help me, then we would use that. And okay, how would God help you? I would ask the question, how would God help you? What would God tell you to do? What support would God give you? And as a spiritual life coach, I use whatever spirituality people use. I'm not big on at all on forcing my opinions and beliefs on somebody else. You have your own, and that's fine, and I accept them, as long as they're not hurting somebody, that's fine. And so I do life coaching or spiritual life coaching depending on what people are looking for. And for me, spirituality is a big part of my life to do what I feel is right and stuff. So that's part of the reason why I want to do what is right for my client as well. I want to do what that is. So with spiritual life coaching, you're accessing a greater power as well. And that seems to help quite a bit, help a lot of people.
Oh, that's good. What are some things a life coach can help with, and why would people want one?
Yes. It's interesting because people don't realize that coaching's even out there, number one. And it can help change people's belief systems. We all have certain belief systems that we may have established when we were young and that carried through our whole life. And these belief systems end up giving us certain perspectives on our life. And we think maybe other people act a certain way because they're feeling this, but really we're projecting our own thoughts on them. And when we have those perspectives, it leads to the actions we take. So what we do lots of times is get people aware of what their belief systems are, where they came from, why they're there, what the benefit was of having that belief system. Is it still good for you? Should we get rid of it? Opening their awareness for the perspectives they have, recognizing that if they have a goal and they want to achieve something, they can have a coach that will help keep them accountable and will help them discover more about themselves so they can move forward with their goal. Sometimes people will call me and they have a dream. They want to write a book. They may have relationship issues. They may hate their job, but they can't leave it just yet, and how are they going to handle it? What can we do about that? So we might look at what's in the way, if you have a block or an obstacle in your way from achieving whatever it is you want to achieve. And then we might figure out ways to release that obstacle so they can keep going and moving forward. Lots of times we figure out what action steps they might want to take. What steps can you take that are small? People, it's the whole New Year's Eve thing, it's that New Year, we're going to set our resolutions, I'm going to lose 50 pounds, write a book, go to England, and I'm going to do it in the next week, and then you never achieve anything. But if they set a small goal instead, just saying once a week, I'm going to make sure I do this.
That makes a lot more sense. That makes it easier to accomplish, doesn't it?
It does. You break it down. And so say you have a big goal in mind. So you do want to write a book. Okay. Well, are you writing anything now? Well, no. Okay. Well, no wonder it's overwhelming. You
haven't started.
All you have to do then is just write one sentence. Just write one sentence a day. It doesn't even have to do with what the book is, but it's achievable. Can you write a sentence? Well, and they always look at me and go, well, yeah. Well, then write a sentence.
Well, I used to write articles when I worked for the Resource Center for one of their newsletters. And I remember as long as I could get that first sentence down, once I put the opening sentence down, it's like the rest of the article would just flow out of me.
Yes, and it's the first sentence. And it doesn't even have to make sense, the first sentence. And the problem is people write that first sentence, oh, that's not good enough, and they go back. We have that critical voice in our head. I just talked about this the other night on my radio show. We have this critical voice in your head that's telling you all the time, you're horrible, you don't know what you're doing, you're ugly, you're stupid, you don't know this, you're not worth it, nobody's going to listen to you. And everybody has this voice in their head. And I think part of it's societal. As we grow up, we're taught to minimize our greatness, and we're taught to minimize sharing our successes with other people because it sounds like you're bragging. And we don't want you bragging. That's bad. It's going to make other people feel bad. And so we minimize ourselves, and when we do that, we end up listening to that stupid voice in our head where we just want to go, hello.
Yeah, that elderly man that they were talking about when we first got here, when they said if somebody comes up to you and introduces himself as Reed, don't answer him or something like that. And but he had a talk show like this. And I remember the time that he interviewed me on his show, he made some comment about, well, he always wore a suit on the program, and he said that somebody had once upon a time told him if you don't wear a suit, nobody will ever believe anything you say.
Yeah, now that's a perfect example of a belief system.
Yeah.
It's perfect, and really, and it's serving him, right? You know, it probably gave him a power, a confidence to know he had that suit on.
It probably did.
You know, so it's a good
it worked for him. It did work for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And when it comes down to it, did he need to? Maybe, maybe not. But it's the same thing. I wouldn't conduct a concert in bad clothes. You know,
No,
I wouldn't.
no.
So it's the same kind of, you know, you want to project a certain air.
Right. And then what can coaching change in someone's life?
Oh, so many things. So pretty much everything and anything. I had a coach, I don't know how many years ago now, and I wanted a coach because I wanted to move forward and start establishing and achieving some of these dreams and goals I had. I had so many, you know, and I wanted to move forward. So it can help you complete projects. It can help you adjust to loss. You know, if someone has passed and you're grieving and it's so hard to move on, sometimes that can be really helpful to do coaching for that. You know, the whole thing is coming up with some steps and having someone listen to you and validate what you're feeling. It can help with, let's see, like we talked about writing a book. I mean, there's so many things that it's just, you just think anything that you could possibly think of. I had a person come to me who literally hated her job, and she was doing everything there. I mean, everything. She was stressed out and was getting physically ill from it, and she was spending so much time at work, and she really shouldn't have been doing that. And she came and we talked, and we went back and forth, and I looked, I said, and so why are you doing all those extra things? And she goes, because I have to. I said, they're not part of your job description. And she says, oh, right. I said, why are you doing them? Are they appreciating it? Well, no. I said, okay, do you see anything here? Maybe we should stop that. And, you know, and then I said, okay, let's make a plan. And so she did. She started cutting back. She got rid of the things she was doing that was extra, taking up so much time. And when she got back to work after we had talked about all these things, it was totally different. She had totally shifted her perspective, had changed her physical actions. She changed her belief system. Because her belief system at that point was, I have to do my best. And for my best, for her, involved a lot more than was necessary. And if they're not going to appreciate it and it's making you sick, then why? You know?
A lot of times that's the case too. It seems like that you go above and beyond the call of duty and nobody cares. Right.
And that's, you know, and you still, and by cutting back doesn't mean you're not doing your best job. It's giving them more of what they're expecting and wanting, and it's protecting your health, you know? And so we changed her belief system to say you don't have to kill yourself to do a good job.
That's like with people when they're getting ready for Christmas, you know, they have all of these things that they think they have to do, and really, you know, they probably could get away with not doing a lot of it.
Yeah, you don't need all those decorations. I put up a lot, you know, and I always am sorry I do pee at the end when I put it all away. You don't need all that, but it is fun to see it all. But still, same thing with the cooking. You know, you're cooking and cooking and cooking, and you're done in 10 minutes. It's like, what did we just do that for?
That's the problem with Thanksgiving dinner. People always think they have to have 100 recipes. It's like every single traditional Thanksgiving recipe there is, and then you spend the whole day, you sit down to eat the meal, that's just maybe an hour, but you spend the whole day cooking the food and then cleaning up the mess afterwards. And you don't really enjoy the company of the people you have
I'll be out in a minute. Yeah, that's a perfect example of another belief system. You know, it's a tradition, and if you want to keep it, that's cool. If you want to change it, then but people don't even realize they can change it. You know, people don't realize they have the power to create the life they want.
It's kind of like, I have to do all this stuff because it's the tradition. So,
and I always do, so I have to do it.
They force themselves to do it. But they might actually enjoy the holidays a lot more if they didn't.
They did kill themselves.
And how does coaching work then, or did we already cover it?
Well, you know, actually, what would happen is the first session, if somebody calls me up and they want coaching, frequently we do it over the phone because people have a sense of privacy then, because sometimes we get emotional. There's things in there that have to be dealt with. And the first thing we do is we just establish some kind of rapport so they understand, you know, I understand, and that we are a good match.
that it'll work out well. And then I ask a lot of questions. How do you feel about that? What do you think about that? Tell me more. And what will happen is they'll start saying more and more and more. And if you keep going, eventually you start to get to the real story. What's really happening? What's really bothering them? Why they can't move on. And the answer starts to come out of them. And then we might establish our goals together, and we'll move through that. We do some exercises sometimes to help them come to the realizations. It could be a meditation, it could be a writing thing, it could be just some clever questioning, and just see. So there's so many different ways to get to what the meat of the point is. And I'm always astounded actually with the coaching, where the first session we talk about their goals, and by the end we're in a totally different place. It's never what they thought. They may still get around to writing that book or whatever it is they want to do, but there's things they have to deal with along the way. So we end up doing this little meandering path. And it's always amazing to me at the end. I go, I can't believe we got here. And they say, I can't believe we got here either. I had no idea that this is what was in my way, or that this was something I really needed to learn about myself. It's really a great experience.
Yeah, I'm in my 60s now, and I'm still learning things about
yeah, we all do.
myself, that I hadn't occurred to me before. What are some ways to change, or examples of perspective shifts?
Yeah, this is awesome, because I read last year in an educational journal, and I never read them, and I don't know why I read this one, but there was one in there on belief systems, mindsets. And I read this thing, and it just really spoke to me. And it talked about people who have fixed mindsets versus growth mindsets. And somebody with a fixed mindset believes that the way they are is the way they are, and they can't change it. They only have so much intelligence, they only have so much talent, they will only be this smart, whatever it could be. Somebody with a growth mindset believes that with hard work, or some work, not even hard work, just work, effort, that they can improve themselves. And you can tell the difference with people who like to learn versus people who, they don't. People say, well, that's the way I am, I can't change it. It's like, are you sure? So knowing that, people can start to see what they really think about themselves.
I remember my son telling me one time this was when he was a teenager, something about I was a lot smarter than he was, and I said, well, you have to remember, I said, it's only because I'm twice as old as you are.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah, and people need to know that kind of thing. And
it's just that you haven't had the chance to learn everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And experiences bring you so much. Life brings you everything you need to learn. You'll have an experience with something and you think, well, I don't like that. People will find out they might have a psychological agreement with their mother. And we always pick on the parents, right? Parents did this to us and whatever. But your mother or a teacher or a close friend or something could have told you, you're stupid, you're never going to amount to that. And so you have this agreement now. You've taken that energy in, that thought pattern, and you've accepted it as a thought pattern, which becomes a belief system. And then as time goes on, you'll never amount to anything becomes either you work really hard to prove them wrong and you become a workaholic, or you do never amount to anything because that's what
you
they
don't
told
try
you.
because somebody told you that.
Yeah. Yeah, and things that happen in your life, I have a friend who complains all the time. Just complaining. And I'm like, if you don't like something, change it. What are you doing? And that's a perfect way.
Usually it's the people that are doing all the complaining are the ones that aren't doing anything to change it.
Yeah. At one point I was complaining about my complaining. I'm complaining too much, and I thought, okay, hello.
Now there's something about a card deck.
Yes, I have this card deck, and I brought it because I thought you might find it fun.
Okay.
I thought you might find this fun. I developed these a long time ago, and what they are, they're called, what are they called?
That looks like the picture on your business card.
Yes, I've actually changed my business card. This is my old logo. So they're called Practical Steps to Self-Realization. And what it was, I wanted to come up with simple steps to help people change their lives. Because, like I said, it's one little thing at a time. So I came up with these 52 cards, and they each have a theme.
And so it could be like this. The very first one here is called abundance. And then there's an affirmation. There is abundance for everyone. And then I wrote a practical step on the bottom. You know, and so then there's a little description of, you know, what goes on in your life and basically, and how can you share your abundance, you know, that kind of thing. And so I like these things because, and actually I'll mix them up a little bit, because people will pick the card that's just right for them right now. And I have these on my desk at school, and this boy kept picking the I am beautiful card every time.
Even though he couldn't, you know,
he would
see it.
shuffle those things up, and he'd still get I am beautiful, and I'm not beautiful.
I'm not beautiful because I'm a boy.
And I'm like, well, look at the other things it could be. It doesn't mean, you know, necessarily exterior beauty, but look at what kind of person you are. You're
Beautiful
an awesome
on the
person,
inside,
you
yes.
know,
A really
he
wonderful
and he
person.
couldn't accept this message. And I'm going, accept it, it'll be cool. So I wonder if you want to pick a card.
Okay,
It would be
I guess I
fun.
will have to do that.
Yeah, and see what you get, because it'll be cool.
Surrender.
Oh.
Everything works out perfectly. Practical step. I surrender my desire to control.
Are you a big control person?
Not as much as a lot of people.
Okay.
About some things I am, like I don't like it if there's a mess in the kitchen from one cooking project and my husband goes ahead and starts another cooking project on top of the mess that's already there before I've had a chance to clean up the first mess.
Yes.
Things like that. So anyway, down here it says we like to have things work out to our advantage. We go out of our way to control other people. We tell them what to do and how and when to do it. Of course, my husband does it to me too. You know, he's always he's always persuading me to do things. It seems like that I don't want to do. You know, but we're like that. We like to encourage a certain outcome. Surrender your desire to control. Let go, let life flow. When you notice that you are trying to help someone or give them direction, etc., pay attention to the reason why you are helping them. Do you have a vested interest in the outcome or the process? Relax and let it go. Let everything work out perfectly without your help. But you know, it is funny because the times when I do let go, things do have a way of working out without me, have a way of working out the way they're supposed to without me doing anything. Yeah. I try to remind myself of that, you know, when I get worried about things.
Right, and if you remember, everything works out perfectly. I mean, we all have tragedies in our lives. People are going to die, and that's the way it is. There's going to be illness, there's going to be accidents, there's going to be all sorts of things, heartache and everything.
Or you need the repairman to come and fix your washing machine.
As simple as that, yes, which is a pain. But, you know, but in the end, it's how you react to those things and how you handle them that makes your life the way it is. I always say, if something's not going right, you know, when I was growing up, and I didn't have much money growing up and stuff, well, I haven't starved to death yet.
No,
No. And that helped me see, you know what, it's going to be okay in the end. It's always going to be okay. And if you trust that whatever's happening is for the highest and best, because you're going to get something out of it one way or another. If it's going to either open your eyes up to a new perspective, or you're going to realize you are trying to control everything and everyone instead of letting people be who they are. You know, just because you let somebody be who they are doesn't mean you have to put up with things that are not good. You know, I talked the other night, well, a while ago actually, about someone who's with an abuser. Because someone who is with an abuser doesn't recognize or accept the person for who they are. They're not accepting that they're an abuser. They're hoping, wanting something else, trying to control it to make it into something else, and maybe it'll change, but it's not going to. And once you accept that the person is an abuser, then you can move forward and get out of there. You know, so sometimes people think, oh, if I'm accepting that or giving up control, that I'm accepting a bad situation. It's like, no, that means you now have the power to get out of it and move on. And because you control your life, you create what you want. So get out there and create it, and don't put up with somebody who's treating you poorly. You know, so people, you know, people read into things sometimes when they probably shouldn't.
Yeah. So you said something a little while earlier about, you said teaching at a college?
Well, I teach at Fredonia Schools, Central Schools.
Oh, the schools.
Yeah, I teach at Fredonia Central Schools. I've been there for about 30 years.
Is it music that you
I
teach?
teach orchestra, violin, viola, cello, and bass.
Oh.
And I'm actually retiring in June. Which is
from teaching?
From teaching. And then so I can do everything else full time. You know, and I've been playing the Philharmonic for almost 30 years as well, which I can't believe. Where does the time go?
I know. I know. It goes way too fast, doesn't it?
It does. It does. You know, I like the advantages of getting older, but some of the disadvantages I could do without.
It's like your children. When you have your children, you think they're going to be around for a long, long time. And then all of a sudden, they're grown up.
They are. They are. And that intensive time when they're young was so intense, you didn't think it was ever going to end. You know, every minute was spent with the kids.
And it seems like practically nothing when it's over with.
Yeah, now I look back and I go, what happened?
Yeah.
Where did they go?
Yeah, really. So, do you ever do readings for people's pets?
You know, I've had animals come through in readings. And on one of my first radio shows, a dog came through, and I'm like, oh, really? I'm going to talk about a dog? Oh my gosh, really? But actually, it was very healing for the person. And, and they will come in. And
really good.
Years ago, I had a dog. His name was Charlie. We called him Charlie Dog. And at night, sometime before I started all this, I was, you know, I'd get messages, but I didn't know what I was doing. But the dog came to me while I was sleeping, and it was a visitation without a doubt, because it was so real. And he put his paw on my leg like he always did, and so I could pet him and stuff. And I was petting him in my dream, and I woke up and I thought, that was strange. It was like it was real. And they have their soul, their spirit too, and their connection to their people here. They want to come in and say hi too. And even though I had this dream maybe, I don't even know, 20, 25 years ago, I can remember it clear as day, and that's a sign it was a visitation rather than just a dream.
Yeah, you know, most dreams just don't seem to make a lot of sense. But every once in a while I will have one that feels so real that you just know that you have made contact with someone.
Yeah, and people will have that, and some people will get scared about it. Because they're like, somebody was in my room. You know, and I'm like, whoa, cool, who was it? Did you talk to him? And they're looking at me like I'm insane, right? And I'm going, no, really, because if they want to come see you, they came to see you. You should say hi.
Yeah, really. I don't have a problem with spirits myself. You know, about a year and a half before my mother passed away, I remember seeing a ghost a couple of times pass through her apartment. You know, and I wasn't sure, I couldn't really make out who it was, you know, but there he goes again, you know. Somehow I could tell it was a man, you know. I don't know if it was deceased relative coming to check up on her?
Well, and it probably was, because as people get older, and you know, especially if they're getting ready to pass, their family will come in from the other side.
Yeah, the medical profession considers that as having hallucinations.
I know, and that's just wrong.
But I remember, I've been around enough people during the last few weeks of their lives, and I've seen it so often. And sometimes even another family member who's not the one that's about to pass away will actually see one of the person's relatives showing up. I've
the same thing with
heard of that
people
too.
with dementia. Alzheimer's, dementia, or people think they're incoherent or they're talking to somebody but nobody's there. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 listen to what they have to say, because someone may very well be there. Ask some questions, find out what's going on. Don't just go, oh, that's nice. Ask some questions, affirm that, so that the spirits know too that you're open to them coming in to help, because they're just making it easier for people to pass, and easier for the people who are left behind, if you want to call it that, too.
Yeah, now a lot of people, this is another thing, is a lot of people, it's been my experience when somebody that I'm very close to passes away, that I can feel their presence after they're gone. And certain so-called experts like to tell you, oh, no, that's just part of the grieving process that you're going through. But it feels so real. I don't see how it could be otherwise.
Yeah, it's real.
That they're staying around to help you get through those early days.
They are. Yeah, they are. And then people are concerned too that, well, if they leave me, like if I don't feel them, that means they've left and they're not coming back. They can be in both places at once. They can still be here with you and they can still be there. It's okay. And it's real affirming to know that as well, that it's just fine. And that's how it works, People want to know.
Yeah, they do. Is there anything else? We're down to about a little over 2 minutes left. Was there anything else that you had hoped to get a chance to say?
My main point and purpose in my life, I call it my vision, my mission, whatever it is to help people realize that they actually have the power to change their life, that they are the ones that need to take the steps. You can't rely on someone else to change your life for you. And you've got to live your own life, not somebody else's life. If somebody wants you to be a certain way and that's not the way you are, then no. So that I want people to really know that they can change it, and it's not a quick process, but slowly, steadily, you can change it.
In recent months, I've seen a quote by Steve Jobs in The Penny Saver. Maybe you've seen it too.
I don't know.
Something about to live the life you want to live and not the one that somebody else thinks you should live, because our time here on earth is so short that we might miss the chance altogether. It was a really inspiring
It is.
quote.
We're all
really
unique,
is.
and we have to live our own life, and we're supposed to live our own life, and we're supposed to be happy living our own life. And if I can get that message out before I pass, then I think I'll have achieved everything.
yeah, that's good. I hope you help a lot of people, and I'm sure you probably do. Well, we've come to the end of another hour of Fresh Perspectives, and I want to thank Colleen for joining us today. It's been a lot of fun. I hope the rest of you enjoyed it as much as I did. And next week we're going to have Bill Kulick from Fredonia. He's going to come on and talk about mushroom farming. Awesome. So I'll see you in a couple of weeks. So long for now.
Thanks.
You're welcome.